Start in 1 minute. Ikaw una ni.
Ako na. Pamuhin ko man ko nito na.
Oo, dito.
So, si D.
Hindi una.
Welcome something. About,
Ako share yung okay.
ano lang siya? Ano siya?
I-check yan ko ano. I-check ang kung say.
So it has
Yeah,
to be
they should
exclusive
record.
to English, yeah? Okay.
Hindi mo siguro? Oo, pwede ka. Ay, no.
Yeah,
Parang,
You move from here, no?
Here?
Yung tarang tao,
Yeah,
walang
oo.
framing. Tao pa ng framing.
Palingkurong din
Ako
siya.
ka na yung
Sure,
order.
lingkod niya siya. So,
Sige, sige, tao na to. Tao na to.
So that's why people usually go out.
Okay, so let me see. I have something else.
Hindi, wala. Ako pang di.
So
there?
more against America.
Okay na? Okay na?
The yakats and Malakas,
Pwede na naisod siguro.
the by the
Jo.
Ha? So, sa iyo. Ay, so lang.
So, wala di. Pero mulusot magyapang kuwara. Ang light, awa. Di ba magkano?
Pinara sci-fi. So, nara ta diri skilid. So, naglibog ko sa kong layout.
Oo.
Diri,
Di na siguro ta?
ha?
No?
Diri na.
Oo.
Mara
Pwede
maka.
na sad.
Hindi na ako magawas. Ma-trap na ko.
Sige,
Hindi
pwede
mo
na
na be trapped. Charing.
Charing.
Oh, sige, diri na.
She's gonna be trapped.
Figuratively.
Thank you so much for giving me.
Get out, try.
I can do something.
Lipstick sa man.
Natunggang ta.
Oh.
Mga tong tabi. Dapat ako din hindi ko ano.
Okay ra.
Di ba? Okay rin na.
Okay ra na yun. Wabi to tayo.
Okay.
Apat na may snacks.
Sige.
Sige, go. So, no.
Ito mo na, kita mo kay ko. Okay? Wait.
There's one Cebuano only.
Ah, okay. Ako, the rest are English.
You want how many?
Sorry.
Okay. 3.
Magkwan?
Wait, how long is this?
Okay.
Gusto.
I don't know what do you want to read. This is quite fancy. An angry poem.
Yeah.
English or Cebuano?
But we will not put this one online. Oh, you don't like video?
Yeah.
Okay.
So someone else can.
Someone, okay, no worries, no worries. Um, okay, we found them.
Oh, yeah.
The entire thing.
It's an angry poem, so you have to be angry.
So you have to be angry. Can you be angry?
Sige.
Or
Yeah,
I
okay.
can also just read that one.
Right.
Okay. We're going to start.
You start from here, from the top till the very end. Just imagine you are interviewed for visa.
Or you want me to do it? I kind of feel like.
Okay, go. Okay, back-backing at the end. We're not live streaming yet, right?
We are.
Oh, sure.
What is this about?
Oh, it's about inheriting generational trauma.
Let's go.
Okay.
Ready.
Hi. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And today, this afternoon is very special for us because we have a poet, a travel writer, an author, Ms. Jona Bering. Can we please give her a hand? When we were approached to do this, of course, there's no we have to do it at Lost Book. So thank you so much, Pop Media, for allowing us. But just to give you context, Lost Book Cebu is an independent bookshop. Um, what's the beauty about independent bookshop is that for us, it really pushes forth and promotes forth our um, local authors, all our local literature. So um, it's only there's not many places where you can find our local books, and we know that there is that gap, and we want to offer that. And we strongly believe that a community should have an independent bookshop because the independent bookshop serves as the critical mind, of a community. And yes, we're just so happy that you're able to provide that for Cebu. And our, of course, being a bookshop will not be legitimate without book events like this, without author like Ms. Jona Bering here. So we'd like to thank you for,
Thank you.
for being
Thank
here.
you.
And also Ms. Lisa and Sir Matt. So yes.
So, okay na siguro. No?
Yeah.
Okay, may hapon sa tanan. Good afternoon. We used to drink a lot. And I don't know if you share this experience that when you're drinking, you get a lot of insight, your discussions is unhindered by the facade that we put up in our daily life. So, and we decided that it's good to have regular discussions, not just during our drinking sessions. And so that's how we decided to organize. We don't know what we're calling it. It's artist series, writer series. We've been doing it for now 1 year,
Yeah.
more than a year, and we still haven't decided what to really call it. But no, more than 2 years. 2 years. Every September we get funding from the Department of Trade and Industry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, every September. It's unfortunate it's March. So, but si Jonah is a favorite of ours. She was one of the speakers sa Art of the Balak.
Mhm.
But before that, di ba sa Jonah? One of our events, no?
Yeah,
Wala.
yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't part of the series.
Yeah.
It was part of something else.
Yeah, like an online.
Oh, yeah. So the idea is to, this is really an informal gathering. We invite creative people for them to talk about how they do the things that they do. And hopefully, we can learn from each other, be inspired, by the work that they are doing. And hopefully, one of these days, one of us will be talking in such a small gathering as this one. The difference is we're live, and unfortunately, I pressed live much earlier. So if you talk ill of someone, must have been broadcast earlier. So thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're so happy to have everyone here. We've been partnering sort of with Donald for the past since October, I believe. And then when we thought of putting this together, I actually accidentally saw Jonah's post that she was coming home. I mean, I knew she was coming home, but I wouldn't know what month. I still didn't know at that time. So unfortunately, we couldn't have her physical book. She has a book, by the way. She's the author of Alam sa Nasaag, for the Lost. And she is also a Palangka awardee. In 2013, her fiction won first place. It was her first first ever entry, I believe, to this very prestigious award. Jonna is now based in Germany with her husband and son. And she was a travel writer for Sunstar and for other online rappler also. And one of the really brave female voices in Cebuano literature. Everyone, let's all welcome Jona Bering.
So this is very impromptu. I did not prepare anything. So I would appreciate if this is like an open discussion. And like I'll start with a question. Anyone who identify as a writer here? Anthony, you said so earlier. So you want anyone else? No? Okay. So what brought you here? No? Just curious. It's a tourist destination now.
Yes,
That's
yes.
lovely. That's lovely. So I don't know. So let's just start with the Q&A. Like just question and answer for whatever you want to ask. I'm very unfiltered. Just so this disclaimer. I can stutter. I'm very unfiltered, and then I'll just edit it like in my head 2 days after. so I'm sorry in advance, just in case. All right, so I'll just entertain questions. Yeah. So anyone, or if you got any questions related to the craft of writing or whatever, or traveling, or was this I started my journey in motherhood recently. So I'm a new mom, and also I'm an immigrant. And so yeah, so those are the very basic information about me. I'm a plant lady and a cat lady as well. So I brought 2 cats to Germany from Vietnam, where I used to live. So these are the basics. So I don't know. Also, so Yahan.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to like.
Like grand entrance.
The grand entrance. Yeah.
No, because I went last year. I went to the UK,
Okay.
and the look is kind of giving UK because kind of I was inspired by the independent look.
Yeah,
up
true.
there.
Actually, yeah. When I first saw it, yeah.
Yeah. So my question. So I went to. I remember all this time before I went to the UK. I thought I was an impression. I love impressionism. I was really drawn when I look at the paintings of Monet. I was really drawn to him, and I was so excited because I know I'm going to see the Lily painting, one of her Lily paintings in the National Gallery.
Okay.
But then when I was there in front of it, I felt nothing. And I was like, wait. I mean, it looks pretty, but
Yeah.
is that it? And so I was, so I went around, so there was around 200 to 300 paintings.
Okay.
I was really looking for a painting that will move me
Okay.
until I saw a painting. It's called Lady of the Rocks
Okay.
by Leonardo da Vinci, and I cried.
Cool.
So my question now, my question for you, in the travel, and it felt like I realized something that you really have, and I think that's the beauty of travel. Like you really have to see, and then because a lot can be, what we see in social media.
Yeah.
I realized it was just bombarded to me. I guess it was just against my will. I was like, oh, you have to like this, and then
Yeah.
what was it? What was there an instance like in your travels that opened your eyes in a way
Yeah.
that, oh my god, I didn't have this original thought. I thought I liked this. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a great question. And I always have to remind myself that I come from a colonized country, and everything that we are provided is actually it's kind of a given. Like you have to like
Yes.
this, and then when I saw, for example, when I went to Paris and I saw the Eiffel Tower, I'm like, all right, it's just like a phallic symbol standing up there, and it's like it's. Is anyone from France? And I'm offended. I'm so sorry.
To be fair, I think most French people
Yeah, so it's just like
don't like it. You can go.
so it's like we have a very romanticized version of Europe, and when we see the real thing, we're not actually moved. It becomes just like we're one of the crowd that say like, all right, we take this off and that's it. And then for the personal Europe, that's the one that you have to look for. So for in my case, it's like a lot of people don't like some parts of Vienna. I live in Munich, but I love some parts of Vienna, but not the touristy Vienna. So just like snippets of places that not the usual narrative that we are fed that will talk to you, and that's one thing. Like for example, when when we think of Europe, we think of like it's a very progressive continent, but there's actually a lot of poor people, and I always imagine like fuck in winter, like with all these street dwellers, and they have nowhere to go, and it's like if I'm poor and I'm a bigger, I would prefer to do it in Cebu. At least it's warm.
True.
Like I always have these thoughts, and then like, and the subways they smell like piss, and there's a lot of snatchers and, and pickpocketers, like these things that we are not actually we thought that only exist in poor countries like the Philippines, but when you see it in real life in developed countries, like all right, this is the narrative that I'm used to. Now I feel at home. No, but I'm not. Winter doesn't make me feel at home. But anyway, but yeah, that's a really good insight. But yeah, that's one thing that we really have to think of when we travel. Where we're coming from always um, have a kind of impact on how we view the places and the experiences around us.
Do you keep notes?
I'm a diarist,
Physical diet.
physical, since I was a high school student. So I always have my diaries still now.
Wow.
They travel with me in Vietnam and now in Germany.
Follow question is, so when you like what is your process? Because since you travel a lot and you have like um, so many diaries.
Yeah.
How do you filter them? And
You don't.
And when I say like if you are working on a book,
Mm-hmm.
do you filter them? Or what's the curation process for that?
That's a good question. The writing down notes, there's no censorship. I mean, why would you impose a self censorship in your diary? That's the beauty of it. And the good thing about it also with writing, with travel writing, is that it's not only exclusive to sites. So I love people watching. That's I think one of the hobbies that's dying now because of social media. When you go out, you just people like looking on their phone instead of just looking what's going on around. And if you're really into writing, it's not just like the site. You have to open all your senses. You will notice when you go out, or when you go to other countries. Let's say when you go to Vietnam. I used to live in Vietnam. The moment you arrive at the airport, it smells different, and like it depends on what people consume and what spices they put in their food, and that's the kind of air that you will smell. Like we just got back from Taiwan, and that's also different. The kind of smell of the city or places is like just so different, and you have to take down note of these things, not just the sights but also the sounds. Like right now, Cebu, that's the sound of Cebu in my head, like the corruption going on. I'm sorry. That's not much. That's me. All right. So these things.
Thank you so much for that. Okay.
Thank you.
And also, before I'm hoarding all the questions. I'm so sorry. Are you working on a book?
Yes, I'm working on two, three works. Yeah, just like motherhood, slows down the process of everything. But I'm working on my second collection of poetry in Cebuano. Yeah, but also I'm working on a collection of short stories in Cebuano and essays, travel essays. And reprint alang sa nasaan because Misa is always bothering
No,
me
no, no.
about
We
it.
used to have Alang Nakaag here, and then
Alang
it
sa
got sold out just very quickly.
couldn't trace anymore.
I couldn't trace anymore who bought it.
Okay, but yeah, we ran out of copies, but yeah, I'll sell them here.
Yay!
So yeah, so yeah, there are three books under. Hopefully, I can come back home next year, and then launch it here. Launch them here. Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yes,
Yeah?
please.
Deal.
Like more than let us know what we can do. Do
Okay, okay.
you want us to, dress this place up with the colors of the book? Let us
no,
know.
no, these are like on motif already. It's like it's on food. so,
So-
yeah, so next year hopefully there are three collections coming.
Let's get to know more of Jona the poet. Here's D to read one of her poems.
Oh, wow. I hope I will do justice. Okay, let me internalize. I would not reply. The consulate's question with a canned answer, brined in my brown tongue for months by kalawisan in the confines of my tiny room. I would not say I am pursuing my studies with a blocked account of 1,000 euros. Sorry, 10,000 euros. To cover all my expenses in a year, an amount that could be stretched for years on this side of the world. Yes, I am coming back to my desolate country, among salt water and dead bodies, where I belong. I would tell him the summer air was thick with a rancid smell of rotten tilapia. I would tell him I am going to his country to and to be fucked. That was Lisa interview.
How does it feel listening to your poem being
I don't know
read?
if I did
I
this.
actually love it. Yeah, you gave justice to it.
Is it?
Yeah, this is one of the very few poems that I found so hard to write and also hard to share to the public because it seems like it's a very naked truth of was this like going through visa interviews after one another, and this is like fucks up your mind. It's the amount of paperwork that you have to go through because you just come from a very poor country. It's just this thick, and it's just like a slap, in your intelligence and your morale. And then I was so angry writing it. But I wish I could say that to a consulate, like, oh,
Yeah.
why are you going there? Because I just want to fuck and be fucked. Which is the bare truth, actually.
Wow. Yeah. Exactly. We all have needs.
anyway, but yeah, so that's just like one of those angry poems.
Thank you so much for writing that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think, for me, like reading it as someone who worked in Singapore for years and went to like travel, I have to like get visa. It's kind of nerve wracking,
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like the anger in it, and also like in my mind, as coming from a third world country, like, why do I have to work outside of the country? I mean,
Yeah,
because
true.
it pays well,
It pays
but
well.
I hate this process that I have to do this.
Yeah. Why can't we have the salary here?
Exactly. But anyway, we are just going to suffer on our own.
On our own ways. True.
I'm interested.
You have any more questions for Miss Jona before we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi, so I'm also a poet, just like you, and I'm also a newly registered architect. And yeah, and I'm not good at writing in Subana, and I just heard that you also write in Subana.
Yes.
I was wondering if you have a proofreader or editor. How
Yeah,
do
I
you?
do.
Okay. Is there any tip in writing Cebuano? Because writing in English is very different from writing in Cebuano.
Right the way what you hear, or like that's the best example. Like my husband, just like a personal story, my husband cannot understand why I want to retire in Cebu when we have a comfortable life in Europe. And I told him that I decided to write most of my works in Cebuano.
Mm.
And if I cannot hear the Cebuano, the everyday Cebuano that I want to be in my stories, then what's the point of calling myself writer in Cebuano? So I have to be based here so that I can really hear the nuances. Just open your ears. Like when you, that's why I'm a diarist. Just like when makadungog bitaw ka, when you hear people talking around you, just write down the way they talk, and then that makes it very smooth and natural. This is also like a critique of some Cebuano writers that we sound so old. Like we don't have to be. We don't have to be. I mean, I cannot speak straight Cebuano. I always pepper my sentences with English because that's how we grew up. That's our milieu. That's our reality. And why is this reality not reflected in Cebuano literature? That's my concern right now. Like, why can't we just produce literature that really mirrors the way we talk and the way we live? So, so what lang yun, Anthony? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, please.
So, don't you think it's more of a literature problem than about sacred? I feel like a lot of authors they want to elevate. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
about social classes, and I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in France as well.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of literature is we don't speak like that. So some people they are French natives, and they will open the books and they will be like, "Fuck, I need to open a dictionary.
Yeah, true.
What is it? Like,
Yeah.
What is this
Yeah, yeah.
vocabulary?"
Yeah, we have this. Yeah, true. That's a form of classism. Like we
Yeah.
think that literature is high art and should not be consumed and should not be from people like the ordinary people. But again, it depends on the intention of the writer. If you're, I'm very pro people, and I want my people to be represented in literature. And if no one else is doing it, I will do it. So, and for me, that's where I stand. But I do understand that there are some writers who are very, I would even say, like imperialist. They have this very pure form of Cebuano that, and it also in the editing circle, it also comes like it comes out like they will change the way it is written. Like we have like where I'm from Tuburan, and then we don't say balay, we say bay. We don't say tanglad, we say tangad. And they will insist on putting tanglad and it's insisting on putting balay instead of the shorter form where I'm from. And that erases the place of the language because how we talk and how we write actually indicates where we're from and the kind of community that we want to represent. And and sometimes it's a conflict. But I do have an editor when it comes to I like grammar thing. We have very specific grammar stuff like ug and ug, for example. There are actually different ways of using it, like the and or the of. So these things I always ask an expert. But when it comes to like shortening words or like I impose my own. So yeah.
I have another question. What? How did you find the strength to ask? How is it? To show your work, to want to be published? Because I think a lot of people. I write as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do that. I have diaries. I write some poems, lyrical, like, but I don't feel like it's special. I don't feel like it's worth being published. But also, a part of me is like, why not? So, how did you find the?
Go with the why not. I mean, if you self sabotage,
Yeah.
that's the end of it. But if there is something, there's another voice saying, why not? Then go for that. I mean, it sounds egoistic. It's the same with me because I chose the self publishing route because it's financially, it's actually more lucrative. So, yeah, so why not? I mean, I know, sure, like, we are fed with narratives that we are unique, we have a story to tell. That's true. And you have to believe in that little thing, that little nugget of confidence that indeed you have something to say. And you cannot please, of course, the entire room of people, but there must be someone, or like one in that crowd, that actually appreciate your work. And for me as a writer, that's more than enough. If there's one who would say, like Jonah, there's one poem in Alan Lazar that talked to me, I'm more than happy with that. So why not go publish?
So could you share a bit about how you were able to publish it?
Alan Salazar, oh
Yes.
yeah. So the main person to really say thank you to is Joshua Cabrera. It's what I actually have a one copy here because
my gosh.
for you,
Oh.
but I'll just show it to them. So Joshua, during my youth,
Not so long.
was the president of Bathalad. Bathalad is a group of writers based in Cebu, male dominated. We were very few female, and you had to be really loud to be part of this. You have to be loud. I love drinking.
Louder than the men.
Yeah, or just love drinking in general, and just like fight with them when it comes to like ideas and anything that we talked about. And then Joshua was the president of Bathalad back then, and one of his network is, I think his cousin has a publishing house. If I forgot, like it's a big publishing house. Even CNU's student publication, we published our annual magazine from there, and then he connected us with this publishing house and just give us the logistics, how much it would cost, and how many copies. Joshua is a marvelous human being. Like I if you've met him, you've met him. But he's just like a lovely, lovely, lovely being. And he decided he's an artist, so this is one of his works. And Talk to Me is like one. I had very long hair before, and it's like one is city and one is wilderness, and it talked to me like this is me. It's like I grew up in the countryside, but I moved in the city, and both of like my narratives are both. So I wanted this as a cover, and then he's also a graphic designer, layout artist. He's everything. So he's the one who really planned everything, and then I sourced an editor. Edgar Godin. He's one of the very respected and respectable editors when it comes to Cebuano. And then Mom Merly and Mom Marge Vasco. These are like two of the most popular feminist writers in the Philippines. They introduced and blurbed the work, and then came to be in. I think in total it took maybe 6 months to a year in producing the entire book, and it was part of the Bathalad series. Cindy Velasquez,
Yes.
Lawas.
At ito launched.
Yeah, Lawas, I think, is the title of her book, and also Kalay, Carla Kim
Okay.
Singh, Pansit Poetry. So that time when Joshua was the president of Bathalad, there were a lot of books being published and a lot of female writers being published. And actually, though, I think I would say that was the peak of Bathalad. Yeah, and there were regular poetry readings.
How does it feel to be a female writer at a time when misogyny is on the rise?
It's still not gone. It's still here. But Holland is still. I would say but Holland is very
I mean,
male. Yeah.
society has become more misogynist. You see it on social media.
Yeah, everywhere. Not just Philippines. It's yeah. We I live in Germany. We just have we elected a conservative government. You look at U.S. It's tough, but if you know where you stand, you fight. My partner always say that I always love picking fights. I said because there's a reason. Like I'm always on social media fighting people. There's a reason. But if you find your crew, I mean, it's not too bad of a place to live in. I mean, the world. I mean, sure, it's a very in many ways it's a very misogynistic society, but still there are people who actually appreciate for who you are. So you just have to you learn to fight. You learn when to fight and you learn when to let go.
Yeah.
Joe, you mentioned your diaries. You like keep paper diary.
I
Paper
have a
notebook.
notebook.
Do you
Yeah.
have like a digital system that you use in your writing?
No, I have paper way back in 2014, 2008. No, 2008.
Wow.
I have them. Do I have to digitalize? You're the digital master.
Yeah.
Do I have to? Each page? How does it work?
Yeah, you should. I think.
How? How does it work? Max, you have to answer that.
Paper.
Later. Okay.
More questions? If you have any more
One
questions,
more.
Uh-uh.
One more.
Listen. Hi.
friends,
Yeah.
or we read one
Read.
book. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on. Okay.
I'm nervous. Okay, I can prompt it. Okay. Um, his mom called asking about his endoscopy this morning. The doctors found some sort of fungus in his esophagus. No polyps in the large intestine, like 2 dozens of Siamese chorizos in the photo. She survived three, her innards getting shorter each time. She got it from her father, he from his, these unwelcome guests that consumes everything if left undetected. He could tell she felt thankful and terrible about the news of this inheritance she had no control over, of him undergoing the procedure every other year. I thought of my own mother, who handed me something as well, invisible, heavy, and sharp enough to cut us through apart.
Questions?
No.
I want to ask it. Yes.
Me?
Yes. Yes.
So is your book translated in English or it's
It's purely the one that get published already.
yeah?
It's purely in Cebuano, but I should,
Yeah.
I should actually. But translation is a different craft, and I don't have the skill.
Especially in poetry, sometimes it's taking off the essence.
Yeah. And also there are like internal rhyming scheme that works in Cebuano that would work in English. So yeah, so it's someone's job, not mine. Yeah, so maybe I will look for that person, or I die and someone find worth in my work someday. 50 years from now, is it like I'm gonna translate this work in English then? But right now, yeah, it's not translated.
Maybe having I had a book, I don't remember what, but like we had the English and French,
Yeah.
and so there was some explanation.
Yeah.
Of why this vocabulary is used and the
Yeah,
intonation.
little footnote. Yeah.
I guess this in poetry especially, I feel like it's something that we kind of need.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people they died, and now we're discussing about their work. I think he was thinking like this, but I think blah, blah, blah.
But this is the beauty of poetry. I mean, it's not the job of the poet to tell you what it is about. It is what you glean from the work. So there are more than one interpretation of the work. So that's how it is. So we cannot really claim one definitive interpretation. I would say, unless you the what's this the author or the poet kept a diary and really insisted this is the only way of reading the poem, and then really line by line dissected what it is about. Or sometimes more often than not, we readers, I'm a reader more than a writer, we overread. I was just like, when there's a line about birds, I'm just talking about birds, nothing else. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
freedom. So,
And so, do you plan? So, not about this, but do you plan on working in English and maybe German?
my husband will be very excited to hear that. No, I have to learn German for the sake for the family and for my child, but I have no plans of writing professionally in German. My Cebuano is wonky enough, and I have to actually improve my Cebuano more than I improved my German. But of course, I need to improve my German because I live in Germany and I have to function socially. But yeah, it's a quite a problem right now. But if I have to choose, I have to stick to Cebuano and English, more on Cebuano than in English. Yeah. German is out of the way.
Yeah. Probably someone will just translate it.
My husband said he's actually a better writer than I am. But he's not a writer by profession, but he said that because I'm planning to write children's books in Cebuano because
Yeah.
we're raising a trilingual child,
Wow.
and he has to translate the words into German, or I will just like try to learn and then come up with the draft that he finalized it. So yeah, because that's one thing that we also need. There's only one, and I bought all of them. Mga Ikukasin.
Oh yes.
I bought all of them because it's the only one that I could find here.
Oh,
So
right.
so
We
that's
need
one thing.
more.
We need more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So writers, that's
Yeah. You know what?
we need more.
Aside from that, so during the Sinulog time,
Uh,
there were so many who came here,
Uh.
tourists especially,
mm.
looking for books about Sinulog.
Mm.
I could not produce anything,
Yeah,
which is so
yeah,
sad. And
Yeah.
I went to, like, I talked to a few other
Mm.
friends that maybe you have a published short stories perhaps
Mm.
about the Sinulog or revolves around that. There's nothing.
We had.
This
Did
is
they
so
produce
sad.
it? I'm pretty sure I won an award Sinulog contest way back then, and it's a collection of short stories and
Oh.
poetry. And it's centered about Santo Niño.
And was it published by the Santo Niño?
It was.
Publishing?
I don't know, but it was organized by the Sinulog community.
Foundation.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We-
I
Okay.
have no idea, but yeah, they should actually revisit that. It
Right,
was like I think
exactly.
2-3 years.
Oh,
It was
that
like sinulat. They call it sinulat back then.
Mm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So yeah, so we didn't have any, and I think that is so ours. Like the Cebuano, it's so part of our
Mhm.
DNA. Like we have to have more books about
Yeah.
or around the Sinulog
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah.
But we don't. And we should have
Yeah.
more writers. Please do your work. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Before we, if you have any more questions, or yes.
What I appreciate about this conversation is having a window view of you as a writer, a poet, your inspirations, and your belief. I wanted to know about your writing process. Uh, Writing poetry is a structure for me.
It is.
I dabbled in poetry
Mhm.
a long time ago. Right now, I just settled with memos and reports.
Life happens. Life happens.
But I'm interested to know because it seems to me that your writing process is untamed, and I'm curious as to when do you know, as a writer, when do you know that the poet is ready to be offered to the
Mm.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
really
Very nice.
That's a really
Interesting.
great question.
Oh.
You I really, when do you know when it's ready for the public? I don't actually know. Sometimes the poem is published already, and then I revisit it and I rewrite it. Yeah, so it's like there's no such thing that it's ready for the public. It's of course it is. It comes from you. You're the one who decide that I want it to be published. But for me, what works is like giving myself deadlines. It's like because if I just like depend on myself and my monster in my head that this is ready or not, nothing will come.
It can go on.
Yeah. It will just like sit in my laptop for a while until I don't know. I decide to finally sit down and come up with a book. But having a deadline, that's why I like contest. I started last year, like joining publications, like when there's a call for submission, because there's a definitive like day that you have to really decide to send it in or not, and that works for me. Just like to give myself a deadline, but when it comes to like personal writing process, I don't know how it works for others, but for me, poetry especially, it comes in moments. It's different from writing essays or a short story. For me, it comes with like a moment. Like for example, before we flew here, I flew to Taiwan, and my little family, walked through park, and there were like five mallard ducks flying, and then it's like very low, like the viewpoint of my 1 year old son. I was like, that's a very beautiful moment. And then I saw like, damn, it's just actually one female duck being chased by five male ducks, and it's just like the ultimate symbolism of patriarchy and being gang raped because spring is on the way. And it's like, and I was pissed, and it's like, oh my god! And this is the kind of world that my son will grow up, and then, oh, just like everything is in my head. But that's the seed of a poem. And I said, like, I'm gonna go through with this image, and then I'm gonna work on it. But the poem is not done. But I know there is a nice symbolism, a nice metaphor in that very moment that I can use in a poem. And that's how I decide. And if I can still remember this conversation or this metaphor 2 weeks from now, I mean, it's worth writing about.
Yeah.
So that's how I decide when it comes to poetry. So, but with essays, it's a different process. So, yeah.
When you write the poems for you were not a mother then.
I wasn't a mother. I was a vagabond. I was traveling Philippines alone most of the time for 10 years. Yeah.
And what's also interesting about this conversation is we see you grow as a writer. I
True.
think it's a fact of life that not just a writer, but human beings.
Yeah, true. True.
Basically expand our horizon. So how does motherhood change? If it changed your writing style, your perception of things, and how you view your process.
Now everything has to be intentional. Before, it's just like, I write if I feel like writing. Now it has to be communicated to my husband. I want to write. The child is yours. So that kind of thing. Because motherhood is self-consuming, and if I really want to dedicate a time to write, then I have to find time to write. So that's my word for the year, actually, intentional, because I really want to finish my collection. But going back to your question, does it change how I view the world? Not much. I've always considered myself a feminist. I still want to raise a feminist son. But also when it comes to social benefits and everything, it has changed the way I want to live in Cebu, okay? I want to live in Cebu, but our social benefits, our health insurance is fucked. And so
I mean, if you want to be fun,
it's so expensive in the long run because we don't have the insurance for one. So it's like I cannot live life the way I want to live anymore in this sense. So when it comes to the social structure, when it comes to that, the goal is the main focus is tiny human.
precious one.
Yeah, very precious one. Yeah.
I do have one question. I teach literature, and when I teach feminist texts or poems, texts in general, to my students, they would say, "Sir, gilagot ni siya."
Yeah.
Does it always have to be angry? It
No.
comes from the
No, it doesn't have to be angry, but angry poems has every right to be angry. There's every reason to be angry, but feminism or feminist writers doesn't have to be angry all the time. But these angry voices have the right to be there. But it's not always angry. It depends. For example, I love Alice Munro. I love Champa Lahiri. These are not angry voices. They are very soft, and this is also one thing that another critique of Cebuano literature. Our works, including mine, are still very male in so many ways. When it comes to voice, we don't have soft writing, or there's a lack of it. And I want more soft writing. Why can't we have this softness? Why is it considered as a form of weakness when it is not? Being vulnerable is actually a form of strength, and we don't have this in our literature. But yes, we need more soft, as I call it, soft literature, and it's still a form of feminism.
So quoting the statement earlier, writers do
Yeah, yeah, those are writers back actually. Yeah.
You also blog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's money.
Sometimes you talk about, you post about SEO writing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about that aspect of your
Yeah, that's so
writing?
interesting. So my day job is search engine optimization. At the core, it's still writing, but I target Google algorithm, because I want my writing to be seen on Google's first page. That's the goal of search engine optimization. But it's just an entirely different kind of writing, because this one is more like very intentional. It's very economic driven. While creative writing, there's no money really. In the long run, there's no money in it. It's just the soul of what it's just something that you really want to do. But search engine optimization, maybe we can do that for literature, like in the long run. Like if you Google Cebuano literature or writings in Cebuano, writings of Cebuano female writers, maybe if there's again, it all depends on the search volume of what people actually look online. And I'm lost. What was the question again? So search engine optimization is really just about money. If once you are found on Google's first page, people will click the link, and then they will, whatever you're selling or whatever the content is, once they go through there, then it's a customer, it's a paying customer. Or the good thing about it too is like there are three business models. So you have ads, like Google ads, when there's affiliates, and also, believe it or not, if you link to one website, it can cost like $300 to $500, just one link to a different website. And that's a lot of money. But then again, it comes from authority. It's like, if your website is old and it has some authority, then more chance of making money. You have several websites, Max.
Do you feel like schizophrenic writing SEO?
Yeah, I have multiple personality disorder. Yeah, it's so different. It's so different. It's nothing creative at all. Sometimes it's very pragmatic and structured. And my day job is like energy tech in Germany, so I have to write about our products, and sometimes my coworkers was a Jona only. For her, it's just SEO. If you're not on Google's first page, your content is dead. And so practically Cebuano literature is
Yes.
what? No, it's not dead, but we have to be found on Google's
Yes.
first page eventually. But yeah, most likely Lost Books is already on Google's first page. We're very popular.
And we owe it to the community because we rarely post on our social media. But but those that go semi-viral for us are the ones created with the community, especially on TikTok.
Thank you, TikTok.
Yeah, it's also thank you for the community. It's very
Yeah.
organic. Yeah.
All right. We're done.
Any more questions? Because
Breather.
we're going to wrap this up with Jona, of course, reading her own poem.
Okay.
How
Can I read you one Cebuano?
Oh, yeah,
and one
sure.
English?
Sige.
Okay. Sorry for the Cebuano. I know I'm not really sorry, but yeah. I'm just trying to be hospitable. But pahimangno sa kaugalingon, after Mary Oliver. Niining kinabuhia, kinahanglang makapanag-iya kag usa ka isla. Mubarog sa iyang parola, bantayan ang palibot, basahon ang bawod ug ang hangin. Jona, ang kuna ang isla sa imong kaugalingon, ang imong batuong mga baybayon, ang imong mga pangpang, ang imong bakikaw nga mga kahoy, ang imong gibiyaang mga bay. Ang kuna ang imong kasakit, mga sinuka sa syudad nga nagpatag sa baybayon sa imong kaugalingon. The uprooting. Winterscape has to be escaped, or else my mind will harden, forgotten potato on the balcony in January. I need something familiar, the texture of a lubincito globe, the smell of freshly uprooted tangad or a banana shrub. I packed Cebu, found in La Palma, and brought it to Munich, with the confidence of a farmer's daughter who never experienced planting, growing these lives in her life. Outside, millions of white flakes slice through the air like millibugs diving down, pooling, swarming on the ground. But we're warm indoors. There's a sign of life pushing through the potted earth, a little leaf unfurling, cocooned from the raging white terrors outside. Salamat. Sorry, daghang kay tog unfiltered version.
Okay.